Hey everyone, this is Mike, and today I am back talking about MOBAs a little bit more because I'm kind of starting to get addicted to it again. Ever since I came back 3-4 weeks ago, I started to play it a little bit more, play a game here and there, but the last week or so I've just been playing the game almost non-stop. Gameplay in the background that you're going to be seeing is some Fiora top lane where I actually played pretty decent. There were some mistakes I made, of course, since I'm still getting used to it again, and of course I've been playing almost nothing but jungle, so going back to top lane is something that took a little bit of getting used to. This was my second game top lane, I believe. It was a pretty good game nevertheless, so that's why I chose it. I had to go back into the gameplay recording thing because I wasn't recording as I was playing it, because I don't really plan to make another video on this so soon again. But yeah, basically that's why you're watching a replay rather than just a live recorded game instead. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Now, the video itself is not going to be specifically about League of Legends though, it's just going to be about the MOBA genre as a whole and why I enjoy this thing so much. Now, the MOBA genre is a team-based genre, of course. You're playing 5v5, of course there are different game types like Twisted Tree Line in League of Legends, and there's a couple of others as well. But in general, it is a 5v5 game type, and that is constant around most of the MOBAs that you have. Like, doesn't matter if it's Dota, Smite, League of Legends, Dawngate, may it rest in peace, Strife, and then for example also, what's it called again? The one from Epic Games, Paragon, that's the one. So there's usually the 5v5, it's a team game. Sometimes you will be the guy carrying your team, as I kinda did in this game, but sometimes you'll also get carried by your team. I am definitely not an amazing player. Like right now, if I were to play ranked, I'd probably end up somewhere in Silver or Gold League or something like that, which probably isn't all that amazing. But it does make it so that sometimes I'll have a good game and then I carry. Like, for example, I'm playing jungle, I get ahead of the enemy jungler, and I can just make ganks happen, and because of that I can get my team ahead as well, opposed to their lane partners, something like that. But sometimes I'll be the one that's behind, I get invaded, I die, I do an unsuccessful gank and their top laner gets a double kill or something like that, and then we are behind. But then, for example, our mid and bottom lane are crushing it and they carry the game for us. That happens from time to time as well, and that's why it's so fun for it to be a team game, because you don't always have to be the one to carry your team. You have to play as a team. Sometimes you'll be the guy helping them out a lot, sometimes your team will be the one helping you out. Now, of course, because it is a team game and because people want to win, there will of course also be some toxicity. Now, it always depends about who you get in your team, really. Like, sometimes you get some really good teammates and it doesn't matter if you lose, they're really sportive about it. And they're just like, better luck next time, good games guys, let's just try our best again for the next one. But of course, you'll also have those people that are really toxic, and even though you might be winning the game and there's no way that you're losing it, they just die and they're like, oh yeah, just like let them win, because why even bother, even though there's almost like no way for us to lose this game anymore. And that kind of gets on my nerves as well sometimes. Usually you see more toxicity when you are on the losing end, but yeah, people can be toxic. That's just the unfortunate truth. Doesn't matter if you're playing a MOBA, if you're playing an MMO, if you're playing even a fucking card game. People can always be toxic when they're losing, and even when they're winning as well, if things just don't go the way that they want it to go. That's just the unfortunate truth, but that is not necessarily a fault of the MOBA genre itself, because I'm kind of getting sidetracked here. Community is something that you can't really do anything about, and it just kind of happens, and you also kind of have to get lucky. As I said, sometimes you get really good teammates, sometimes you'll get really bad teammates, and then I'm not talking about how they play, I'm talking about their personality and that kind of stuff. Now, when it comes down to the MOBA genre though, why is it something that I'm able to invest so much time in? As I said, I've got over 1,000 hours on Dota, I've probably got around the same amount of time on League of Legends at this point as well, and then of course the other MOBAs that I have played as well that I've listed before. Why can I keep playing these genres and not get bored of them, even though it's always the same map and the objective stays the same? Kill the enemy base, or like try to prevent the enemy team from killing your base. And that is because there is such a wide variety available in these game genres. Now, of course, even like say for example, I only bear to play League of Legends. There are 5 different roles I can play. I can play top lane, which has their own champions that usually fit best top lane. I can play mid lane, which then again usually has mages and that kind of stuff. I can play ADC, I can play support, I can play jungle. And depending on what role you play, there will be different champions that will be better for you. For example, Fiora, I really like playing Fiora. I think she has a really unique design, but she doesn't really play all that well in the jungle, so I just play her top lane instead. Could also play her mid lane if you really wanted to. but you don't necessarily see her all that often in the jungle. The other way around as well, there are a couple of champions that are really good in the jungle that you don't necessarily see all that much in lane, like for example Ivern, I believe, really wants to play jungle. Same with Kindred, because he needs to like invade and get those enemy camps stolen and that kind of stuff. So there's a really unique aspect to that there's 5 different roles. Depending on the role, you might also want to be playing different champions, and that just makes for a very wide variety that is available to you. And if you know me, I'm someone that loves variety. It's one of the main reasons why Final Fantasy XIV is the MMO that I play the most, because there's so many different characters that you can play, or different classes that you can play, and you can play them all on one character. It's really easy to level alts, and you can switch in between them really easily as well, because a lot of your gear is shared across your different classes. So if I were to just play Gunbreaker, I can just switch into any of the other 3 tanks because I already have the gear from my Gunbreaker having been geared up and that kind of stuff. And in League of Legends it's exactly the same. I can learn, for example, to play top lane, and then I can play Fiora, I can play Maokai, Nasus, Darius, whatever else is there, and I can just load up into a game and play that. Now, the other really cool thing is that this is kind of like an ARPG, well, ARPG team game, but you do get the same progression feeling of an ARPG, but much more condensed. One of the major things that are so fun about a MMO, an RPG, an ARPG, whatever it is that you go from 0 to hero, but it really takes you quite some time. You start out at level 1, you have no skills, you have no gear, you're weak, you're a nobody. But then as you grind through the quests, you do the dungeons, you get gear, you gain new levels, get new skills, all that kind of stuff, gain upgrades on the skills that you already have or something like that. You get stronger, and all of a sudden you go from being nobody to being somebody, getting really strong, getting new gear, doing raids, doing endgame raids, them doing like the high endgame raids or something like that, like for example ultimate raids in Final Fantasy. And then all of a sudden you are a very strong character and you feel very powerful as well, and that is a very good feeling. Now, of course, when you're playing those RPGs, these MMOs, ARPGs, whatever, it takes a lot of time. Like it could take 100, 200, 300 hours for you to go from level 1 to max level in an MMO, and that's just a very big investment for some people to make. Whereas if you were to play something like a Moba, you get that same feeling of going from 0 to hero, but in like a 20, 30, 40 minute game span. And you get to do this experience every single time again when you load up a new game. So you don't necessarily have to just make a new character, play it for 300 hours to get this experience of getting really strong and then just destroying stuff at endgame. You get this experience in a condensed game of 20 to 30 minutes where you go from level 1, getting those new skills, building your character and getting stronger towards the end, which I think is incredibly fun and which is something that probably draws a lot of people to this genre as well. And then of course you're also playing against other people constantly that are trying to do the same thing. You're playing maybe one-on-one if you're top or mid lane. You might be trying to control the map as a jungler, you might be fighting 2-on-2 in the bottom lane or something like that. And then of course with ganking and all of those kind of things as well. But it's just incredibly fun. The experience of going from 0 to hero, or at least trying to get to that hero status, is really fun as well. And then of course every game just feels different. You might be playing a different champion, you might be playing it in a different position, you might be playing against a different opponent. Of course, for example, you can play the same champion twice, or like against the same champion twice, but because it is a different person behind the controller, then they play it differently. Some of them might be really good, the other might be a little bit worse or something like that, and depending on that, your matchup can change quite a bit as well, because they play much more aggressive or they play more passive or something like that, and that just makes you feel like you're playing a completely new game. So even though you've played the game for like 100 times, you're always on the same map, the objective stays the same, you might always be playing new champions, you might be matched against different champions, and you might also play in a different role as well, top lane, mid lane, jungle, that kind of stuff. And that just keeps the game incredibly interesting for me, keeps it always fresh, every game feels different, and that is just what is so much fun about it. So even though you've played a MOBA for hundreds of hours, you'll still find new experiences, you'll still learn new things, and that is what is so incredibly fun about it. And it doesn't matter which one you play. If you play League of Legends, great. If you play Dota 2, just fine as well. If you want to play Smite, Strive, or any of the other ones that are out there that I probably don't know about, those have all kind of got the same experience, and that is just so incredibly fun because it keeps the game so fresh to me rather than just doing the same boss fight over and over again, where you're just trying to optimize one thing or something like that. Here you'll always have a different experience, and that really keeps the game fresh for me, and it is also one of the reasons why I'm able to just keep queuing up again and again to try and get a new game, to just try and improve a bit as well, because of course since I recently came back to the game I lost most of my skills. I still have some like stuff, muscle memory here or there, but for the most part I have to relearn a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of fun learning new things for me personally as well. But that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in today's video. Maybe a little bit of a long ramble about pretty much the same things, but basically I'm really enjoying myself playing MOBAs again, and you might see a little bit more of it on the channel as well, but we'll see about that in the future. So yeah, I want to thank you for watching, I want to thank my Patreons for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.